Penguin Random House Audio presents A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Neighborly Words of Wisdom from Mr. Rogers by Fred Rogers. Read for you by Fred Rogers and Fred Sanders, including the essay by Tom Junod that inspired the major motion picture. Fred Rogers, 1928 to 2003, was a producer, writer, magician, puppeteer, minister, husband, and father who began working in children's television in the 1950s and created the PBS program Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He pioneered programming that spoke with respect to the concerns of early childhood, not as adults see it, but as children feel it. For his work, he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, a Peabody Award, and numerous other honors. The Television Hall of Fame inducted him in 1999, and the Smithsonian Institution displays one of his sweaters as a treasure of American history. He founded Family Communications, Inc., now Fred Rogers Productions, a not-for-profit company that continues to develop programming, special projects, and materials that help children learn and grow, including Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Tom Junod is the recipient of 2 National Magazine Awards from the American Society of Magazine Editors. He has written for GQ and Esquire, and is a senior writer for ESPN. His 1998 profile of Fred Rogers for Esquire is the basis for the feature film A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Dedicated to all of the children of any age who have found our neighborhood and have been willing to spend time growing right along with me. Can You Say Hero? By Tom Junod. In 1998, journalist Tom Junod received an assignment to profile Fred Rogers for Esquire. For reasons both personal and professional, Junod had lost confidence as a writer. He didn't anticipate finding guidance and reassurance from such an unlikely source, a beloved children's television host. In crafting the piece, Junod followed Rogers around New York City, visiting his apartment and studio to observe his daily routines and interactions with adoring fans. He also accompanied Rogers to the home where he grew up in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, for a window into the childhood of a man renowned for his understanding of children. The resulting piece, which beautifully demonstrated why Fred Rogers means so much to so many people, was widely acclaimed on publication and became known as a classic of magazine reporting. When screenwriters Noah Harpster and Micah Fitzerman-Blue read Junod's piece, they were inspired to write a story based on the true-life friendship between the two men. Directed by Marielle Heller and starring 2-time Oscar winner Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers and Matthew Rhys as Lloyd Vogel, a character based on Junod, the film is called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, released in 2019 by TriStar Pictures. This friendship between these two men was an irresistible opportunity to revisit the philosophy of Fred Rogers through a grown-up lens, said Marielle Heller. At a time when the world feels divided, Fred's message of kindness is even more important. His radical kindness, one that does not discriminate, resonated with all of us, and we hope it resonates with audiences. We all feel like we've been forever changed by working on this movie, and we thank Fred for that gift.
Once upon a time, a little boy loved a stuffed animal whose name was Old Rabbit. It was so old, in fact, that it was really an unstuffed animal. So old that even back then, with the little boy's brain still nice and fresh, he had no memory of it as young Rabbit or even Rabbit. So old that Old Rabbit was barely a rabbit at all, but rather a greasy hunk of skin without eyes and ears, with a single red stitch where its tongue used to be. The little boy didn't know why he loved Old Rabbit. He just did. And the night he threw it out the car window was the night he learned how to pray. He would grow up to become a great prayer, this little boy, but only intermittently, only fitfully, praying only when fear and desperation drove him to it. And the night he threw old Rabbit into the darkness was the night that set the pattern, the night that taught him how. He prayed for old Rabbit's safe return, and when, hours later, his mother and father came home with the filthy, precious strip of rabbity roadkill, he learned not only that prayers are sometimes answered, but also the kind of severe effort they entail, the kind of endless, frantic summoning. And so when he threw old Rabbit out the car window, the next time, it was gone for good. You were a child once, too. That's what Mr. Rogers said. That's what he wrote down once upon a time for the doctors. The doctors were ophthalmologists. An ophthalmologist is a doctor who takes care of the eyes. Sometimes ophthalmologists have to take care of the eyes of children, and some children get very scared because children know that their world disappears when their eyes close, and they can be afraid that the ophthalmologist will make their eyes close forever. The ophthalmologist did not want to scare children, so they asked Mr. Rogers for help, and Mr. Rogers agreed to write a chapter for a book the ophthalmologists were putting together, a chapter about what other ophthalmologists could do to calm the children who came to their offices. Because Mr. Rogers is such a busy man, however, he could not write the chapter himself, and he asked a woman who worked for him to write it instead. She worked very hard at writing the chapter, until one day she showed what she had written to Mr. Rogers, who read it and crossed it all out and wrote a sentence addressed directly to the doctors who would be reading it. You were a child once, too. And that's how the chapter began. The old navy blue sport jacket comes off first, then the dress shoes, except that now there is not the famous sweater or the famous sneakers to replace them. And so after the shoes, he's on to the dark socks, peeling them off and showing the blanched skin of his narrow feet. The tie is next, the scanty black batwing of a bow tie hand-tied at his slender throat, and then the shirt, always white or light blue, whisked from his body, button by button. He wears an undershirt, of course, but no matter. Soon that's gone too, as is the belt, as are the beige trousers, until his undershorts stand as the last impediment to his nakedness. They are boxers, egg-colored, and to rid himself of them he bends at the waist and stands on one leg and hops and lifts one knee toward his chest and then the other, and then Mr. Rogers has no clothes on. Nearly every morning of his life, Mr. Rogers has gone swimming, and now here he is, standing in a locker room, 70 years old and as white as the Easter Bunny, rimed with frost wherever he has hair, gnawed pink in the spots where his dry skin has gone to flaking, slightly wattled at the neck, slightly stooped at the shoulder, slightly sunken in the chest, slightly curvy at the hips, slightly pigeoned at the toes, slightly a swing at the fine bobbing nest of himself. And yet when he speaks, it is in that voice, his voice, the famous one, the unmistakable one, the televised one, the voice dressed in sweater and sneakers, the soft one, the reassuring one, the curious and expository one, the sly voice that sounds adult to the ears of children and childish to the ears of adults. And what he says, in the midst of all his bobbing nudity, is as understated as it is obvious. Well, Tom, I guess you've already gotten a deeper glimpse into my daily routine than most people have. Once upon a time, a long time ago, a man took off his jacket and put on a sweater. Then he took off his shoes and put on a pair of sneakers. His name was Fred Rogers. He was starting a television program aimed at children called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He had been on television before, but only as the voices and movements of puppets on a program called The Children's Corner. Now he was stepping in front of the camera as Mr. Rogers, and he wanted to do things
Sample complete. Ready to continue?